Put your dreams on paper, for clarity is the first step in transforming vague desires into tangible goals. Writing your dreams down is not just an act of recording, it is an act of commitment, a declaration that you are ready to take your aspirations from the realm of fantasy into the realm of possibility. When you write your dreams, you give them form, structure, and direction. What was once a fleeting thought becomes a concrete plan that can be revisited, adjusted, and worked toward. The power of writing is in its ability to crystallize ideas and create a roadmap for success. Recognizing inherent worth begins with understanding that our value as human beings is not something that needs to be earned, justified, or proven. From the moment we take our first breath, we carry within us a unique essence that is entirely separate from the roles we play, the titles we hold, or the accomplishments we achieve. Yet as we journey through life, this truth often becomes obscured by societal expectations and the conditioning we absorb from an early age. We are taught, either directly or indirectly, that our worth is tied to external factors, our grades in school, the career paths we choose, the relationships we maintain, or the material possessions we accumulate. This conditional view of self-worth sets us on a relentless pursuit of validation, a chase that often leaves us feeling unfulfilled, disconnected, and constantly striving for more. To reclaim a sense of inherent worth, we must first challenge the narrative that tells us we are only as valuable as our latest success or failure. This requires a fundamental shift in perspective, one that moves away from the external markers of worth and toward an internal recognition of our intrinsic value. It means understanding that we are enough simply because we exist, that our worth is not diminished by setbacks, mistakes, or moments of vulnerability. When we adopt this mindset, it transforms not only how we view ourselves, but also how we engage with the world around us. We begin to let go of the need for approval and the fear of judgment, freeing ourselves to live authentically and unapologetically. This journey of recognizing inherent worth often involves peeling back layers of conditioning and questioning deeply ingrained beliefs. From childhood, many of us receive messages, whether through words, actions, or societal norms, that our value is contingent upon meeting certain standards or fulfilling specific expectations. These messages can take root in our minds, shaping how we perceive ourselves and our place in the world. They tell us that we must be perfect, that we must achieve, that we must conform. But this conditional view of worth is both fragile and exhausting. It leaves us constantly measuring ourselves against unrealistic ideals and feeling inadequate when we fall short. True self-worth requires us to reject these false narratives and embrace a more compassionate and holistic view of ourselves. It involves acknowledging that our imperfections, our quirks, and even our failures are not signs of weakness, but rather evidence of our humanity. When we accept ourselves as we are, flaws and all, we create space for growth, healing, and self-discovery. This acceptance does not mean complacency. Rather, it means approaching ourselves with kindness and understanding, recognizing that we are always a work in progress. As we deepen our understanding of inherent worth, we also begin to see how it influences our relationships and interactions. When we value ourselves, we are less likely to seek validation from others or to tolerate behaviors that undermine our sense of self. We become more discerning in the connections we form, choosing to surround ourselves with people who uplift and affirm us rather than those who drain or diminish us. This shift empowers us to set healthy boundaries, to advocate for our needs, and to walk away from situations that do not honor who we are. The impact of recognizing inherent worth extends beyond our relationships. It also transforms the way we approach our goals and aspirations. When we believe in our value, we pursue our dreams not from a place of fear or inadequacy, but from a sense of abundance and possibility. We no longer strive to prove our worth through achievements or accolades. Instead, we seek fulfillment and joy in the journey itself. This perspective allows us to embrace challenges and setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth, knowing that our worth remains intact, regardless of the outcome. Central to this process is the practice of self-compassion. Too often, we are our harshest critics, quick to judge ourselves for our perceived shortcomings and slow to acknowledge our strengths. Self-compassion invites us to treat ourselves with the same care, patience, and encouragement that we would offer to a dear friend. It reminds us that we are deserving of love and respect, not because of what we do, but because of who we are. By cultivating self-compassion, we silence the inner voice that tells us we are not enough and replace it with one that affirms our inherent value. Recognizing inherent worth is not a one-time realization, but an ongoing practice. It requires us to consciously choose day after day to honor ourselves and reject the messages that tell us otherwise. It is a journey of self-awareness, of learning to listen to our inner voice and trust in our own wisdom. As we continue on this path, we discover that our worth is not something to be earned, but something to be embraced. It is a quiet, steady force that resides within us, unshaken by the highs and lows of life. When we recognize and live in alignment with this truth, we unlock a sense of freedom, authenticity, and peace that no external validation can ever provide. Silencing the inner critic begins with recognizing its pervasive presence and the subtle ways it infiltrates our thoughts and decisions. The inner critic, fueled by insecurities, comparison, and fear, often acts as an unseen barrier, holding us back from realizing our potential and living authentically. It whispers doubts, magnifies mistakes, and creates narratives that diminish our confidence. To overcome its influence, we must first understand its origins and the role it plays in shaping our inner dialogue. The inner critic is not an inherent part of who we are. It often stems from past experiences, societal expectations, or the pressure to conform to impossible standards. Childhood memories of criticism, moments of failure, or comparisons to others can leave lasting imprints on our minds, forming the foundation for this inner narrative. Over time, these experiences accumulate, and the inner critic becomes a habitual voice, quick to judge and slow to forgive. However, just as this voice was formed, it can also be transformed. The first step in silencing the inner critic is awareness. Many people are so accustomed to the voice that they fail to notice when it speaks. It operates in the background, influencing actions and decisions without conscious acknowledgement. By becoming mindful of its presence, we begin to separate ourselves from it. Awareness allows us to identify when the inner critic emerges, whether it's in moments of self-doubt, hesitation, or fear of failure. Recognizing its patterns is key to regaining control over our thoughts and reframing the narratives it perpetuates. Challenging the inner critic involves questioning its validity and rejecting its authority. The critical voice often thrives on exaggeration and distortion, presenting worst-case scenarios or highlighting perceived inadequacies. When it tells us we are not smart enough, talented enough, or deserving enough, we must pause and examine the truth of these claims. Are they based on objective reality, or are they reflections of unfounded fears? By scrutinizing the critic's assertions, we weaken its power and create space for more balanced and empowering perspectives. Practicing self-compassion is an essential counterbalance to the harshness of the inner critic. While the critic thrives on judgment and perfectionism, self-compassion invites kindness and understanding into our inner dialogue. It involves treating ourselves with the same patience and support we would offer to a friend. When we make mistakes or face challenges, instead of berating ourselves, we can choose to respond with empathy. Self-compassion helps us recognize that imperfection is a natural part of being human, and that our worth is not diminished by our struggles. By cultivating this practice, we create a nurturing inner environment where growth and resilience can flourish. Silencing the inner critic involves reframing negative narratives with empowering ones. By replacing self-doubt with affirmations, we reclaim our confidence and reshape our self-perception. For example, rather than viewing a setback as evidence of failure, we can see it as an opportunity for growth and learning. This shift in mindset not only quiets the inner critic, but also empowers us to approach life's challenges with confidence and optimism. Reframing is not about ignoring difficulties, but about choosing to interpret them in ways that reinforce our strength and resilience. The inner critic often thrives in environments of comparison, where we measure ourselves against others' successes, appearances, or achievements. Social media, professional settings, and even personal relationships can become breeding grounds for these comparisons, fueling feelings of inadequacy. To silence the critic, we must break free from this cycle by focusing on our unique journey. Each individual's path is different, shaped by their own experiences, challenges, and goals. By embracing our distinctiveness and celebrating our progress, we shift our focus away from what others are doing and toward what truly matters to us. Silencing the inner critic also involves embracing failure and reframing it as a natural and valuable part of the growth process. The critic often uses the fear of failure as a weapon, convincing us to avoid risks or new opportunities. However, failure is not a reflection of our worth. It is simply a step along the journey of learning and self-discovery. When we view failure through this lens, it loses its power to undermine us. Instead, it becomes a source of strength, teaching us resilience and adaptability. As we work to silence the inner critic, it is important to celebrate our successes and acknowledge our progress. The critic rarely gives credit where it is due, instead focusing on what we lack or what remains undone. By consciously shifting our attention to our achievements, no matter how small, we counteract this negativity. Recognizing and appreciating our efforts reinforces our sense of self-worth and quiets the critical voice that seeks to overshadow our accomplishments. Silencing the inner critic is not about eliminating all self-doubt or negative thoughts. It is about reclaiming our power and choosing how we relate to ourselves. By becoming aware of the critic's presence, challenging its narratives, practicing self-compassion, and setting boundaries, we can transform our inner dialogue. This transformation empowers us to live with greater confidence, authenticity, and peace, free from the constraints of fear and insecurity. The journey requires patience and persistence, but the freedom it offers is worth every effort. Setting boundaries is an essential act of self-respect and care, a way of defining where we end and others begin. Boundaries are not about shutting people out or creating barriers. They are about preserving our emotional well-being and maintaining balance in our relationships. By establishing clear limits, we communicate our needs and priorities while ensuring that our energy and resources are not depleted by overextending ourselves. This process allows us to create healthier, more supportive connections and to protect ourselves from situations that lead to burnout or resentment. The process of setting boundaries begins with self-awareness. Before we can communicate our limits to others, we must first identify what they are. This requires introspection and a willingness to examine our emotions, behaviors, and patterns of interaction. By paying attention to the situations or relationships that leave us feeling drained, overwhelmed, or uncomfortable, we can pinpoint where boundaries are needed. Recognizing these triggers helps us understand what is acceptable to us and what is not, allowing us to define the limits that will best protect our well-being. Once we have a clear sense of our boundaries, the next step is learning to communicate them effectively. Expressing our limits can feel challenging, especially if we fear disappointing others or being misunderstood. However, clear and respectful communication is essential for ensuring that our boundaries are honored. When we explain our needs calmly and assertively, we help others understand our perspective and reduce the likelihood of conflict. For example, Instead of framing a boundary as a rejection, we can express it as a positive affirmation of our needs. I need to prioritize some time for myself to recharge, so I won't be able to take on extra responsibilities right now. This approach reinforces the importance of our limits while maintaining respect for the other person. Enforcing boundaries is a critical aspect of maintaining them. It is not enough to simply state our limits. We must also follow through with actions that uphold them. This might mean declining invitations, stepping away from toxic conversations, or taking time off when we feel overwhelmed. Consistently enforcing boundaries demonstrates to ourselves and others that we are serious about protecting our well-being. While this process can be uncomfortable, especially if it elicits resistance or pushback, it ultimately reinforces our sense of self-respect and empowers us to prioritize our needs without guilt or hesitation. Boundaries are not fixed or rigid. They are dynamic and adaptable, evolving as we grow and change. What feels acceptable or necessary at one stage of life may no longer serve us at another. Regularly reassessing our boundaries allows us to stay attuned to our needs and to adjust our limits as circumstances shift. This flexibility ensures that our boundaries continue to reflect our values and priorities, allowing us to navigate life with a sense of balance and alignment. One of the most significant challenges in setting boundaries is overcoming the fear of disappointing others. Many of us are conditioned to prioritize the needs and expectations of others over our own, believing that saying no is selfish or unkind. However, setting boundaries is an act of self-care, not an act of rejection. It is a way of preserving our energy and well-being so that we can show up fully and authentically in our relationships. When we set boundaries, we are not only protecting ourselves, but also fostering healthier, more honest connections with others. Those who truly care about us will respect and appreciate our limits, even if they don't fully understand them at first. Setting boundaries also involves learning to navigate and manage our own emotions. It is natural to feel guilt or discomfort when asserting our limits, especially if we are not used to prioritizing our needs. However, these feelings are not indicators that we are doing something wrong. They are simply a reflection of old patterns and beliefs. By acknowledging and working through these emotions, we can build the confidence to set and maintain boundaries without feeling burdened by guilt or self-doubt. The benefits of setting boundaries extend far beyond individual well-being. When we establish and honor our limits, we model healthy behavior for others. Our actions demonstrate the importance of self-respect and self-care, encouraging those around us to reflect on their own boundaries and to prioritize their needs as well. In this way, setting boundaries creates a ripple effect, fostering a culture of mutual respect and understanding within our relationships and communities. Boundaries also play a crucial role in preventing burnout, a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion that can arise from chronic stress and overcommitment. By clearly defining what we are willing and able to take on, we reduce the likelihood of becoming overwhelmed or stretched too thin. This not only preserves our energy, but also enhances our ability to be present and engaged in the areas of life that matter most to us. When we respect our own limits, we create the space to recharge, to focus on our passions, and to nurture our well-being. Setting boundaries is an act of empowerment. It is a way of taking ownership of our time, energy, and emotions, ensuring that we are not sacrificing our well-being for the sake of others' expectations. Boundaries allow us to live with greater intention and authenticity, aligning our actions with our values and priorities. They are a reminder that we have the right to protect our peace and to create a life that supports our growth and happiness. By embracing the practice of setting boundaries, we cultivate a deeper sense of self-worth and pave the way for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Embracing imperfections begins with accepting the simple truth that perfection is an unattainable ideal. Society often promotes a vision of flawlessness through media, cultural norms, or professional standards that creates an illusion of what it means to be worthy or successful. This constant pursuit of perfection, however, often leads to frustration, self-doubt, and an overwhelming sense of inadequacy. By striving for something that does not exist, we deprive ourselves of the chance to live authentically and to appreciate the beauty and growth that come from imperfection. Perfectionism can paralyze us, making us hesitate to take risks or pursue our goals. This fear of falling short often holds us back from starting new endeavors. We tell ourselves that we must wait for the perfect moment or become the perfect version of ourselves before we act. Yet life does not reward waiting for perfection. It rewards progress. Each step we take, no matter how small or imperfect, moves us closer to our goals. By shifting our focus from achieving perfection to making progress, we allow ourselves to grow and evolve without the weight of unrealistic expectations. Accepting imperfection also fosters authenticity, a quality that is essential for meaningful connections with others. When we embrace our flaws, we give ourselves permission to show up as we truly are, without masks or pretenses. This authenticity creates space for vulnerability, which is the foundation of trust and intimacy in relationships. By sharing our struggles and imperfections, we invite others to do the same, building deeper and more genuine connections. People are drawn to authenticity because it is real and relatable. It breaks down barriers and fosters a sense of shared humanity. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing imperfections is the freedom it brings. Letting go of the need to be perfect liberates us from the pressure to constantly prove ourselves. It allows us to focus on what truly matters, our passions, relationships, and personal growth, without being weighed down by the fear of judgment or failure. This freedom empowers us to take risks, to explore new opportunities, and to live with a sense of purpose and joy. It reminds us that we are not defined by our mistakes, but by how we respond to them and what we learn along the way. Embracing imperfection requires a commitment to self-compassion. We are often our harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossibly high standards and dwelling on our perceived inadequacies. Self-compassion invites us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend. It reminds us that we are worthy of love and respect, not because we are flawless, but because we are human. By cultivating self-compassion, we create a supportive inner environment where we can thrive, even in the face of setbacks and challenges. Letting go of perfectionism also involves resisting the urge to compare ourselves to others. Social media and other platforms often present curated versions of reality, making it easy to believe that everyone else has it all together while we are struggling. But the truth is that no one is perfect, and everyone faces their own battles. By focusing on our own journey and progress, rather than measuring ourselves against others, we can develop a healthier and more balanced perspective. This shift allows us to celebrate our achievements, no matter how small, and to appreciate the uniqueness of our own path. Life becomes richer and more fulfilling when we embrace our imperfections. It allows us to approach each day with a sense of curiosity and wonder, rather than a need to control or perfect every detail. It encourages us to take risks, to experiment, and to step outside our comfort zones, knowing that mistakes are part of the process. This mindset not only enhances our personal growth, but also deepens our connections with others, as it fosters empathy and understanding. Embracing imperfections is about recognizing that we are enough just as we are. Our worth is not determined by our ability to meet impossible standards, but by our willingness to show up, to learn, and to grow. By letting go of perfectionism, we free ourselves to live authentically, to connect deeply, and to pursue our dreams with courage and joy. It is a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance, one that allows us to find beauty in the imperfect and strength in the unfinished. Through this process, we create a life that is not defined by flawlessness, but by the richness of our experiences and the depth of our humanity. Rejecting external validation begins with the recognition that our sense of worth and confidence must come from within, rather than being tied to the opinions, praise, or approval of others. While external validation can provide temporary feelings of acceptance or accomplishment, it is inherently unstable and fleeting. Depending on others to define our value places our self-esteem on shaky ground, vulnerable to criticism, rejection, or changes in external circumstances. True confidence, on the other hand, is rooted in internal validation, a deep, unwavering belief in our worth that is independent of external factors. The pursuit of external validation often starts early in life, shaped by societal norms, family expectations, or cultural influences. From an early age, many of us are taught to seek approval through accomplishments, appearances, or adherence to certain roles. This conditioning can create a pattern where we constantly look outside ourselves for confirmation of our value, whether through grades, professional achievements, or social acceptance. While these external markers may bring temporary satisfaction, they fail to address the deeper need for self-acceptance and authentic self-worth. Relying on external validation disconnects us from our true selves. When our actions are driven by a desire to gain approval or avoid criticism, we often make choices that are misaligned with our values, passions, or goals. Over time, this disconnection can lead to feelings of emptiness, dissatisfaction, or even resentment. By placing our self-worth in the hands of others, we give away our power, allowing external circumstances to dictate our sense of identity and fulfillment. Breaking free from the need for external validation requires a shift in focus from outward approval to inward affirmation. This begins with self-awareness, the process of understanding what truly matters to us and what aligns with our authentic selves. By reflecting on our values, strengths, and aspirations, we can cultivate a deeper sense of self-connection that is not dependent on external input. This self-awareness allows us to make decisions based on what feels right for us, rather than what we believe will please others or earn their approval. Learning to validate yourself is an essential part of this journey. Self-validation involves acknowledging and celebrating our efforts, achievements, and growth, no matter how small they may seem. It requires us to treat ourselves with kindness and respect, recognizing that our worth is not contingent on external recognition. When we learn to validate ourselves, we create a strong inner foundation that is resilient in the face of criticism, failure, or rejection. This internal strength allows us to navigate challenges with confidence and grace, knowing that our value is not diminished by the opinions or judgments of others. Comparison is one of the biggest obstacles to rejecting external validation. In today's hyper-connected world, it is easy to fall into the trap of measuring our worth against the achievements, appearances, or lifestyles of others. Social media, in particular, can amplify these feelings, presenting a curated version of reality that makes it seem as though everyone else has it all together. To break free from this cycle, we must shift our focus away from comparison and towards self-acceptance. Each person's journey is unique, shaped by their own experiences, challenges, and growth. By celebrating our individuality and focusing on our own progress, we can free ourselves from the pressure to measure up to others' standards. Another key aspect of rejecting external validation is learning to embrace criticism and rejection as natural parts of life. No matter how much we seek approval, it is impossible to please everyone, and not all feedback will be constructive or helpful. By developing a healthy perspective on criticism, we can separate ourselves from the opinions of others and focus on what truly matters to us. Constructive feedback can be a valuable tool for growth, but it does not define our worth. Rejection, similarly, is not a reflection of our value, but rather an inevitable part of pursuing our goals and living authentically. Setting boundaries is crucial in the journey to reject external validation. This involves recognizing when others' expectations or opinions are encroaching on our sense of self and asserting our right to prioritize our own needs and values. By setting boundaries, We protect ourselves from the emotional toll of seeking approval and create space to cultivate self-validation. These boundaries allow us to focus on what brings us fulfillment and joy, rather than being weighed down by the pressure to meet others' standards. Rejecting external validation does not mean disregarding others' opinions entirely or closing ourselves off to feedback. Instead, it is about discerning which voices to listen to and which to let go of. The opinions of trusted mentors, loved ones, or supportive friends can provide valuable insights, but they should never override our own sense of self-worth. By prioritizing our inner voice and aligning our actions with our values, we maintain control over our self-esteem and identity. Rejecting external validation is about reclaiming our power and recognizing that our worth is inherent, not conditional. It is about living authentically, guided by our own values and aspirations, rather than the shifting expectations of others. This journey requires courage, self-awareness, and a commitment to self-acceptance. But the rewards are profound. Letting go of external validation is not just about freedom. It is about reclaiming your authenticity. It opens the door to a life driven by your values, your aspirations, and the quiet confidence that you are enough. Stepping into your power begins with the realization that personal power is not something granted by external circumstances, but something that already resides within you. It is rooted in self-awareness, courage, and the recognition of your unique strengths and abilities. To truly embrace this power, you must cultivate a deep understanding of who you are, what you value, and what drives you. This self-awareness acts as a foundation, grounding you in authenticity and guiding your decisions. Even in the face of challenges or uncertainties, personal power is not about dominance or control over others. It is about mastery over your own life. It involves recognizing that you are the author of your story and that you have the ability to shape your reality through your choices, actions, and mindset. This sense of agency comes from letting go of the need for external approval and embracing the belief that your worth is inherent. When you stop seeking validation from others, you free yourself to live unapologetically, guided by your own values and aspirations. Courage is a vital component of stepping into your power. It takes courage to move beyond the fears and doubts that hold you back, to challenge the limiting beliefs that tell you that you are not enough, and to face the uncertainties of life with resilience. Fear is often the biggest obstacle to personal power, convincing us to play small or to settle for less than we deserve. But courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means choosing to move forward despite it. Every act of courage, no matter how small, strengthens your confidence and reinforces your sense of power. Embracing your unique strengths is another key aspect of stepping into your power. Each individual possesses a combination of talents, experiences, and perspectives that make them uniquely equipped to contribute to the world. Recognizing and celebrating these strengths allows you to step fully into your potential. Too often, people focus on their perceived weaknesses, comparing themselves to others and diminishing their own abilities. By shifting your focus to your strengths and what makes you exceptional, you can harness your unique gifts to create meaningful impact. Living unapologetically means embracing who you are without shame or fear of judgment. It involves releasing the need to conform to societal expectations or to fit into predefined molds. This authenticity requires vulnerability, as it often means showing parts of yourself that others may not fully understand or accept. However, living authentically is also liberating, as it allows you to build a life that aligns with your true self. When you live unapologetically, you attract relationships and opportunities that resonate with your values and aspirations, creating a life that feels fulfilling and purposeful. Stepping into your power also requires a willingness to take risks and to embrace failure as a natural part of growth. Many people hold themselves back because they fear making mistakes or falling short of their goals. However, failure is not a reflection of your worth. It is a stepping stone on the path to success. Each setback provides valuable lessons and opportunities for growth, helping you refine your approach and deepen your resilience. By viewing failure as an integral part of the journey, you free yourself to take bold action and to pursue your dreams with confidence. Self-awareness plays a crucial role in this process, as it helps you understand your motivations, triggers, and patterns of behavior. This awareness allows you to identify areas where you may be giving away your power, whether through self-doubt, people-pleasing, or fear of change, and to reclaim it by making conscious choices that align with your values. Self-awareness also enables you to recognize the strengths and resources you already possess, empowering you to navigate challenges with clarity and confidence. Setting boundaries is another important aspect of stepping into your power. Boundaries protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being, ensuring that you are not overextended or taken advantage of. By setting clear limits, you communicate to others that your needs and priorities are important. This act of self-respect reinforces your sense of power, as it allows you to take control of your life and to focus on what truly matters to you. Boundaries are not about shutting others out. They are about creating space for you to thrive and grow. When you step into your power, you also cultivate a sense of abundance and possibility. Instead of viewing life through a lens of scarcity or limitation, you begin to see opportunities for growth, connection, and success. This shift in mindset allows you to approach challenges with optimism and creativity, knowing that you have the resources and resilience to overcome them. It also encourages you to celebrate your progress and achievements, no matter how small, reinforcing your confidence and sense of self-worth. Stepping into your power is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice. It requires consistent effort, self-reflection, and a commitment to personal growth. As you continue on this journey, you will encounter moments of doubt or setbacks, but each challenge provides an opportunity to deepen your understanding of yourself and to strengthen your resolve. By embracing this process, you build a life that is not only authentic, but also deeply aligned with your values and aspirations. Stepping into your power is about owning your story and living with intention. It is about recognizing that you are enough just as you are, that your worth is not contingent on external achievements or approval, and that you have the ability to create a life that reflects your unique strengths and purpose. By embracing your power, you unlock the freedom to live authentically, to pursue your dreams with confidence, and to make a meaningful impact in the world. This journey is not always easy, but it is one of the most rewarding paths you can take, as it leads to a life of fulfillment, joy, and unwavering self-belief. Understanding that self-worth is intrinsic serves as a transformative realization, allowing individuals to navigate life with confidence and authenticity. It frees us from the exhausting pursuit of external validation and enables us to embrace the truth that our value is not conditional on achievements, appearances, or the approval of others. This perspective creates a foundation for resilience, guiding us through life's challenges with clarity and self-assurance. By embracing imperfections, we accept that growth and progress are more meaningful than unattainable standards of perfection. This acceptance fosters authenticity, strengthens relationships, and deepens our connection with ourselves and others. Silencing the inner critic helps us replace self-judgment with compassion, allowing us to move forward without fear of failure or the weight of unrealistic expectations. Setting boundaries further solidifies our self-worth, ensuring that we prioritize our emotional and mental well-being while cultivating relationships rooted in respect and mutual understanding. Together, these practices create a life of lasting fulfillment and personal growth. When we align with the truth of our intrinsic worth, we unlock the power to live authentically, to face challenges with courage, and to pursue our dreams with confidence. It is this alignment that paves the way for a life defined not by external measures, but by the unshakable strength that comes from within.